amazing about Diane Reeves when she sings, she embodies the entire sound. So you hear the trumpet, but she dominates what you're focusing on because the passion of jazz, the feel. Jazz is really a music that speaks to and resonates to people all over the world because it has that divining principle of just life, of every emotion. And when Diane Reeves sings, just in the way she will turn something, and she'll go, jazz. And you go, wow.
The voice is, again, a dominant force, but it's also an instrument. It's not something that's added on or something that was an afterthought. It's very much there in the pocket with that music, and it doesn't stand out as being, again, something additional. It's an essential part of what was going on there. The early jazz, the jazz vocal tradition has evolved certainly along with jazz itself. From around the turn of the century, and Lenora wants to share with you a very early recording, certainly one of the fathers of, or early innovators of jazz vocals, Louis Armstrong. Okay?
And it's important to recognize Louis Armstrong's contribution to vocal jazz. Most people know him as a trumpeter, and he's also been coined the father of improvisation. And the father of jazz, not because he was the best or the first, but because he introduced the concept of soloing, of people stepping out and soloing. Before then it was a collective kind of improvisation. The vocalist is responsible, is the only one in the bandstand responsible for the story inside the lyric. The instrumentalists don't have that responsibility. And so a vocalist must take that story and make it palpable, make you feel it, you know. And having that wide potpourri of sounds you grow up with. Especially, it is interesting, vocalists now in this 20th century, 21st century, who came up before, like the Ella Fitzgeralds and the Louis Armstrongs, have such a different recorded, documented musical history to share, because Diane Reeves has, you know, every kind of music, spirituals and standard repertoire, world music, Latin music. It's just a beautiful musicianship that she gives us. I saw her do that live, where she was almost had a chant going with the whole audience, and she just used her whole body, and she sat up like this with her legs wide open. She pulled her dress up. She was just at it. You know what I mean? All was missing was a big wash basin, and it was unbelievable. But it was it made you feel that she had done her homework. And that's what's important. You know, when I'm working with the students that I teach voice, we can be working on Bach and Puccini arias. You know, it doesn't matter. But you still need to also learn the history of the music from America. So, the music from Africa. You need to know all of the information. So then you can go and give a performance that represents that you respected your audience.
She started out at a very early age being exposed to jazz, but also from a very early age, she worked with Harry Belafonte, Clark Terry. So she worked with these jazz masters and had access to this, and they knew she was serious. She played in the jazz band when she was in high school. They won this award, and that's how she got to, you know, connected with Clark Terry. But just having access to those musicians and that living history, and I think she does have a respect for it at a level where she feels the freedom to now do her own thing, develop her own voice, but she always understands from whence it came. You know, I don't think she feels like she always has to connect it back, but there's a deep understanding of that. She talked about her love for Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald, and I want to play a snippet from one of the Ella Fitzgerald CDs now. And part of, again, the appeal of Ella Fitzgerald was because she was comfortable and proficient in almost every setting. Most of the noted jazz performers, including yourself, I mean, you worked with quartets, you worked with big bands. And many of the jazz vocalists that we now recognize as legends cut their teeth with the big bands. We talked earlier about, you know, Ella Fitzgerald took over for a band early on. Chick Webb's band, and even Joe Williams, you know, noted for blues but recognized as a great jazz voice, was with Count Basie's orchestra. The Mel Tormes of Frank Sinatra. Some of my favorite Frank Sinatra ones are with the Basie bands and all you know, the Dorsey bands and all different kinds of bands. So the fact that these singers learn the songs really well and are comfortable enough doing them in almost any setting, I think is very, very important.
And they had to do it right there on the spot. There was no go back in the studio and correct it.
No fixing in the mix.
And there was sometimes Ella would sing 30 or 40 numbers a night.
Yes.
I learned that from Papa, from Donald Meade,
Yes.
you know, the jazz historian that mentors both Lois
He
and
mentors
I.
us, and he traveled with all the greats, and they
Yes,
knew.
yes.
And his big joke was, you know, Ella Fitzgerald did her talking on the bandstand when cause she was married to Ray Brown for a while.
Right.
But once she left the band, she would barely utter. She was very nice, but she
Very
didn't really
shy.
know, very shy, wouldn't utter a word. She did her talking on the bandstand, and who would have thought of it with that big voice and the way she projected? But off that stage, she was very personal and private.
And it's funny, Diane Reeves is very shy like that, but on the stage, big open, you know, big open love you get from her. And when she'll say hello, ladies and gentlemen, to the audience, she'll sing it. And that started just from her being very shy. Okay? Just a wonderful performer.
So it annoys me to no end when people say, I don't understand jazz. What is there not to understand? help me here. Obviously, you...
And I always would tell people, it's the same thing, like you go out with your girlfriends and you all going out to have something to eat. And it's 4 of you at the table. And sometimes 4 of you are in the conversation with each other. And sometimes 2 of you go to the side and kind of have a little chit-chat while the other 2 are looking at the menu or doing something else. And then sometimes 3 of you are in a conversation about something and the other one's talking on their phone or whatever. She's having a... That's what's happening on the bandstand. Because sometimes the piano and the bass and the drums are all talking together. And then the trumpet player or the sax player or the singer is off there getting ready to do something, listening to what they're talking about. And then they come in and they jump in and they start being part of the conversation. But then maybe a little bit later in the conversation, now the piano and the bass player are going to just have a private conversation. And the drummer's going to listen and they're going to wait until... It's the same thing.
Yes.
It's not anything more profound than that. It's really simple. And it's funny, I love one time Winton had a really great response to that. He said, if you don't understand jazz, just go dress nice, go to the concert, and sit there and nod your head like they do at the classical concert. They don't understand what's going on there either, but they go. There's a great scat, Diane Reeves scatting on Loads of Love on that, instead of concentration.
Yeah, okay, we'll do that one. We want to play a couple of other clips for you and then stop and open up to questions. I want to give an example of some of the more, not necessarily contemporary. The thing about Diane Reeves, too, is also, like many jazz musicians and vocalists, she's a songwriter. Lenora's a songwriter, I'm a songwriter. Part of, I think, what develops, even if you don't think that you are a songwriter, after interpreting the music, hearing the music, working with instrumentalists, every piece of music has a story. Sometimes that story is told best without lyrics or words. Sometimes, you know, I don't know if you've ever listened to even a classical song and go, this is what it feels like to me. You know, this is what the emotion it evokes for me. I want to give just a brief snippet now of a song called Never Too Far. You know, one of the very popular Diane Reeves tunes was Better Days. You know, it was played a lot on the pop stations and smooth jazz stations. You know, it's that song. And the lyrics are silver gray hair.
About her grandma. They call her grandma.
Yeah, it's about her grandmother. It's a great song. And this one that I'm going to play a snippet from now, and we'll close with the one you want to play, Never Too Far, was one you may have